Just think of each mode as an individual scale. Job done. If you want a little more detail, let us begin by quickly looking at the idea of scales. In Western music, there are a total of 12 notes that are the building blocks of music. 7 of these are labelled with the letters A to G. The remaining 5 are called sharp or flat. They are also known as the accidentals. Generally, we use sharp when we are moving up to a note and flat when we are moving down to a note. The distance between each of these notes is called a half step or a semitone. For example, if we move from A to A sharp, this is a distance of a half step or semitone. If we move twice this distance, then we call it a whole step or a tone. So starting again on A, if we move to B this time, it is a distance of a whole step or a tone. Notes are organised into collections known as scales. We call a set of notes a scale when we remove the notes from their musical setting, such as a melody or chord progression, and arrange them in order from a starting point. They will typically ascend in pitch, continually moving from lower to higher notes. The difference in pitch between two notes is called an interval. For a comprehensive guide to intervals, check out the video in the description below. Scales will divide an octave, which has a maximum of 12 notes that we saw earlier, into a series of scale steps. Scale steps can be thought of as intervals that make up the scale. The distance between scale steps can be measured in the whole steps and half steps that we learnt earlier. They can also include intervals that are wider than a whole step, but this is less common. A typical number of steps, or notes, in a scale is 7, but this could be any number up to the total of all notes, which is 12. The scale steps, or intervals that make up a scale, are collectively called an interval pattern. The interval pattern of a scale will give it a certain sound. These patterns are used to categorize scales in ways you may have heard before, such as major and minor. Scales are defined by their interval pattern category and the note that the scale begins on. This is referred to as its first degree or tonic. It may also be called a root note. For example, the C major scale has a major interval pattern, which gives it a major sound, and begins on or has the tonic of the C note. The most common and foundational scale is the major scale. If you've not heard the name before, you will certainly recognize the sound of the major scale. You just heard the C major scale. It has the notes C, D, E, F, G, A, and B. These are all of the white notes on a piano. These scale notes, degrees, or steps can be labelled with numbers to help understand their relationship. We start with the tonic note as number 1. Subsequent notes get numbers in order until we get to B, which is number 7. The interval pattern or formula for the major scale, starting from the tonic, is whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. These patterns mean that you don't have to memorize the actual notes. You take the formula, start on your chosen tonic note, and away you go. This system can be applied to any scale or mode for easy learning and understanding. From these scales, we can then construct chords which make up a key. If you have heard a song in the key of C major, the underlying chords will be constructed with the notes from the C major scale. So we can now understand scales and have looked at the formula for the major scale. But you came to this video to understand modes. What are modes? Before we cover all 7 modes, I want to take a moment to thank you for watching this video so far. Our channel would be impossible to maintain without your support. We have memberships and super thanks available to you if you'd like to help us make the channel sustainable for the future. Click on the join and thanks buttons below this video for more information. As we said right at the beginning of this video, the easiest way to think of modes is as distinct, individual scales that each have their own sound and characteristics. Each one has its own interval formula, so you can use them as easily as we used the major scale. The modern modes are given complicated sounding names. They are derived from ancient scales that predate the idea of major and minor. Don't let these names put you off. They may create a sense of mystery or feel like you need to be a genius to understand them, but they are just names of scales. Confusion can sometimes arise from the fact that all modes are made of notes from the major scale. Indeed, they are referred to as the modes of the major scale, such as first, second, third, etc. This can lead to people thinking that they all sound the same as they use the same notes. As we go through the 7 modes, you'll see that they don't sound the same, but you may spot patterns that repeat or link them together. Think of them as distinct scales in your mind, and you shouldn't have any problems. We'll use the tonic or root note of C to show you the different modes and allow you to appreciate the sound and difference between them. Let's begin with the first mode of the major scale, the Ionian Mode. This one will be familiar to you as it's the major scale we discussed earlier. It has the interval pattern whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. C Ionian has the notes C, D, E, F, G, A, and B. The scale degrees are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. It has a major sound. It could be described as bright, happy, or joyful. The terms major scale and Ionian mode are used interchangeably, but don't panic as they mean the same thing. The second mode is called the Dorian mode. It has the interval pattern whole, half, whole, 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 half, whole. You'll notice that this is the same as the Ionian, but the first whole has been moved to the end of the interval list. This pattern will repeat for the rest of the modes, taking the previous mode and moving that first interval to the end of the list. See if you can spot it on the remaining modes. C Dorian has the notes C, D, E flat, F, G, A, B flat, with the scale degrees 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7. You'll see that the scale degree numbers show how the notes relate to the major scale / Ionian mode. This means that once you know the major scale, the subsequent modes are easy to grasp. Here the changes are a flat third and a flat seventh. The Dorian mode has a minor sound. This comes from the flat third note, which if you know about chord construction, is integral to the minor sound. Dorian can be described as mellow, smooth, or folky. Whilst being a minor mode, it doesn't feel as sad as other minor modes. The third mode is called the Phrygian Mode. It has an interval pattern half, whole, 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 half, whole, whole. C Phrygian has the notes C, D flat, E flat, F, G, A flat, and B flat, with scale degrees 1, flat 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, and flat 7. The Phrygian mode has a minor sound. Where the Dorian lightened up the minor sound, the Phrygian intensifies and darkens it. Its tense, evil sound is commonly used in metal music. The fourth mode is called the Lydian Mode. It has the interval pattern whole, 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 half, whole, whole, half. C Lydian has the notes C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, and B, with scale degrees 1, 2, 3, sharp 4, 5, 6, and 7. The Lydian mode has a major sound. Its interesting sound has little dissonance and creates a floaty, dreamlike feeling. This comes from the raised / augmented fourth degree. The fifth mode is called the Mixolydian Mode. It has the interval pattern whole, whole, half, whole, whole, half, whole. C Mixolydian has the notes C, D, E, F, G, A, and B flat, with scale degrees 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and flat 7. The Mixolydian mode has a major sound. It is bright, upbeat, and has a rock music feel to it provided by the flat 7. The sixth mode is called the Aeolian Mode. You may know it as the natural minor scale. It has the interval pattern whole, half, whole, whole, half, whole, whole. C Aeolian has the notes C, D, E flat, F, G, A flat, and B flat, with the scale degrees 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, and flat 7. The Aeolian Mode has a minor sound. It is dark and sad as you would expect. It is frequently used in rock music. The 7th mode is called the Locrian Mode. It has the interval pattern half, whole, whole, half, whole, whole, whole. C Locrian has the notes C, D flat, E flat, F, G flat, A flat, and B flat, with scale degrees 1, flat 2, flat 3, 4, flat 5, flat 6, and flat 7. The Locrian Mode has a diminished sound. It has an unstable, dark, and tense feel that wants to resolve. For this reason, it is found mostly in the heavier forms of metal. If you want to better understand where the sounds that underpin each mode comes from, then an understanding of intervals will help you. Click the video on screen now to learn about the intervals and listen out for the sounds that define the modes we covered here.